Welcome everyone to the Woman Reinvention Project. My name is Vesna Hrsto, and today our guest is Alina from The Art of Being. Alina has been a life coach for 11 years, coaching women in all different areas. She has a host of other healing modalities that she uses, and she writes on all things on life, love, sensuality, and luxury. Welcome, Alina.
Thank you so much, Vesna. It's great to be on the call with all the wonderful women listening.
Awesome. Okay, so before we get into the work that you're doing, what you've done before and what you're doing at the moment, what is something that you find? Do you have some kind of a routine during the day or something that you feel like keeps you balanced, keeps you kind of connected to yourself?
My routine is to do as little as possible.
Love it.
And by that, I mean, I've really learned about myself
Mm-hmm.
over the years. And, you know, me getting enough sleep is more important than me exercising to get through the day and think and write.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a trade-off between getting up at 5 in the morning and exercising or sleeping in, but having a more productive day.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just make that call. And then, of course, after a while, the bones begin to clunk a little bit, and you know that you need to stretch your limbs. And then
Mm-hmm.
I would go and have a workout. So I just respond moment to what I need, and I try not to put too much spiritual and self stuff on my to-do list because then it gets counterproductive.
Awesome. I love that. Keeping it simple and listening to your body, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your work. So you've been working with women, coaching women for it's over 11 years, yeah? You were saying when we spoke before it's like 13, 14 years?
Yes, I was a 23-year-old life coach, which
Love
11
it.
years ago in 2014, so yes, moving on to the 12th year, was unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
The industry is a lot more abundant now, and back when I was doing it, it was absurd, but I just knew the minute I left university, that's what I wanted to do, and
Mm-hmm.
I trained as a coach. It was a set of modalities, just like any practitioner would train, and despite my age, perhaps due to my ignorance, I was really good at it.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And so what kind of work were you helping women with?
I started off just coaching anybody that would cross my path, and I worked with a lot of really excellent men. But then through my own journey, I had boyfriends and I kept having problems with them. And I just serendipitously ran into an acquaintance who was doing all these goddess workshops, and it was all about feminine energy. And
Mm-hmm.
I went along, and it's like my lid was blown. And I
Wow.
really felt that was the missing element in modern living,
Mm-hmm.
everything that women and men were complaining about, divorce rates, exhaustion, lack of inspiration, could
Mm-hmm.
boil down to this one element. So I studied Tantra, I studied, um, that was pretty much the main thing I did around the feminine studies, but other work I was doing in NLP and coaching and
Mm-hmm.
healing was really enhanced by this missing ingredient, the sacred sexuality and sensuality of human beings. And it just felt a lot more natural for me to work with women around that area. And I think
Mm-hmm.
we have a lot more impact in the home and in society
Mm-hmm.
when we are empowered in that way.
So when you're working with women before about enhancing their sensuality and tantra and things like that, like what does that look like? Because I have no idea. Like I've heard this stuff before and I really don't know too much about it. What does it look like? Like what kind of work is it?
Sure, look, I'm not a tantrika. I
Mm-hmm.
deeply revere the work that tantrikas do, but they're essentially a form of a sexual surrogate, and they would work with women in the nude and men and
Wow.
do sacred touch and massage. And I think that's the most healing work you can do. However, I don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I still remain fully clothed in my practice. Everybody was dressed. I was working with women, but it's just guiding women to a different conversation within themselves and
Mm-hmm.
trying things differently around the home. So we did exercise and meditations that could help them explore their identity, their
Mm-hmm.
womanly and their sexual identity in a different way. And we also explored different conversations around men and work, but just from that different paradigm. So it was
Mm-hmm.
coaching, but with that angle, and I guided them in the right direction. I'm engaging with more erotic literature, or perhaps more sensual and erotic art throughout history. And that was in 80 to 90% of the cases, that was so enough, because as women, we do have that knowledge already within us. And a conversation like I would have just sparked that flame, and a woman would have permission to go and explore on her own. And then, of course, if somebody needed some deeper healing in that area, I would recommend them to a practitioner that was a bona fide tantrika.
Okay. And so doing that work with women, like what did they find? Like, did it help with their relationships? Did it help them find, a partner that they were looking for, a loving relationship?
Everything, I really cottoned on very quickly that a happy woman is a sexy woman. So and I think the relationship between sexuality and creativity is incredibly correlated. Both make us split up from within, but often you can't have one without the other. So through allowing women to know themselves as a sexual woman, whether that means going dancing more often or going for more skinny dips or trying different things with their partner or giving their partner a massage or getting back, just simple things that weren't even at their forefront, it gave them a bit of a zing and a spring to their step. It put them in a brighter mood, and that meant their hearts were a lot more open even to work conversations. It's just, I think when your aura expands, then all of life responds.
Yeah, you become like that magnet, like, I guess from my understanding is that you like vibrate at a higher energy and so therefore attract more of that towards you, yeah?
Absolutely, and it makes sense that our sexual energy will make us vibrate the biggest, because that's what our life is made of.
Yeah. I love how you said that creativity is linked to sexuality or sexual energy. Never quite heard that before, but it makes sense, because I find people who are really passionate and really kind of inspired and creative and just doing their thing, and it totally lights them up, and it's super sexy.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think with both, we are birthing. Whether it's your project or a baby, it a creative project or another life completely puts us outside of ourselves. So when people, talk about, life balance, etc., a painter who is lost in the process can go for 14 hours without barely a drink of water, and they will come out illuminated.
Yeah.
Whereas, so I think we're put on this earth to make and create good things, and whatever it is, as long as we're making it, and if it's making love, all the better. But that's just a part of it.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so for 11 years plus, you've been helping women to kind of embrace that part of themselves and really release that energy. What's your work moving into now?
My easiest mode of communication is writing. So I have a lot of stories to tell over my, 11 years of exploration tantra and the weird workshops I did and courses I met. And I see myself more as a writer at this stage than a coach and an entertainer. I want to make people laugh. I want to poke fun a little bit on the personal development industry, and I want to have fun with the whole thing. So if, people come and read my writings, that's great. I still dish out unsolicited advice, but, I think as I said, with the explosion of the industry, there's much better people out there. They're a lot more equipped to hold a more intimate space with people than I am, and I'm cool to be honest about that. Who knows what will happen though in a year's time?
Yeah, exactly. So just say there's, a woman wants to, what kind of complaints, or what kind of things did women want to enhance when they came to see you? Was it just they wanted to be more sexy? They wanted to find a partner? Because I'm just trying to think, like, if I think for myself, like I'm just going to think for the masses here, like that are listening to this interview, if I wanted to increase my sensuality and sexuality, my sexual energy, what's something I could do, or perhaps what's something that I should stop doing, or something that kind of enhances it and helps it to flow?
Yeah, sure. Look, it's a great question. I think a majority of women, we just want to reclaim our radiance.
Yes.
And when I talk about sexiness tongue in cheek, or we talk about sensuality, as I said, there is this primordial knowledge where something in our bones resonates and recognizes. So nobody comes in and goes, oh, I want to be sexy, because that's what Victoria's Secret is for. But even when I spoke about, I work with women around sensuality, or my business is called The Art of Being Sexy, and it was meant to be a joke, but everyone's eyes just lit up and they went with it. And even like when I applied for some jobs and I had that on my CV, that's what the person who was interviewing would want to know about. So the fact that we are so curious about sexuality and sensuality, I think, is a great gateway to what we need to start exploring to light up. And there is so much, it's about feeling titillated. So, Vesna, say if you wanted to create a bit of oomph in your life, go research some erotica. Go read some Anais Nin. Or perhaps erotica throughout the ages and other cultures. Our spirit really thrives on that curiosity. Start a Pinterest board called Fetish, and pin on it, make it private if you want. Just have a little bit of fun with it. Smell different things and textures, and explore fabrics in your wardrobe. So I think it's just about that correlation that sensuality is very sensory, and the five senses in our body is a gateway. And the complaint of women is they're not stimulating and nourishing that part of themselves enough. We're too much in our head. We're trying to do things right all the time, and it's happening now in spirituality. I've spoken earlier that, women are doing so many things, and, they come to my practice and I'm sure to yours, but I'm doing my affirmations every day and I'm writing gratitudes and I'm going to yoga. Why am I still broke and don't have a boyfriend and exhausted? It's because we're still trying to operate a very, very soulful reality through our minds.
Yes.
And it's like having, virtual reality sex or Facebook relationships in lieu of real ones. It's a virtual reality in our heads there.
So true. It becomes a job, it becomes another chore.
Yes.
And I really love how you really talked about opening up to the senses, because it is like all of those things, like you really putting that stuff into your experience, into your environment, into your consciousness, like fabrics and smells and reading and stuff like that. I love that. It's not a way that I've ever heard it before. The way I've heard it before is, meditate, tap into your feminine power and kind of all of that stuff. But it makes a lot of sense to bring that stuff into your world and open up the senses to it.
And look, feminine power as well comes in many ways. So the goddess of Aphrodite within you is all about the sensuality and the senses and the pleasures, and that could be the very thing that you're craving the most. But then the goddess Diana is all about action and purpose and mission, and it's incredibly womanly. A lot of people think that that's masculine energy, but the fierce warrior, the tigress, is an incredible feminine archetype. Or the woman who just whispers with the trees and can smell the rain and know when it's coming. So there's many elements of that, and it's up to you to listen to yourself enough to know what you need. Do I need to work off a velvet tablecloth with crystals today and some flowers, or do I need to actually switch off my computer and go in nature even for 10 minutes, or go help somebody to get my alignment back?
I love that. Do you know what? And I know that we spoke on the phone briefly before, but this is just reminding me of it, the French women. Because if you read any book, like I remember years ago I read the book Why French Women Don't Get Fat. And honestly, coming from a nutritional background, I had food was a source of nutrition, it was a source of nutrients, but because I had my own hang-ups on food for many years because I had allergies and whatnot, I had really disconnected from how food is pleasure. Okay, and when I read that book, I was like, wow, it was like setting the table. It was, putting out your fine plate and putting your cutlery and really making a ritual out of eating and really enjoying the food and eating everything. She was talking about beautiful breads and butters and all this whole creamy stuff, and it was so different to the way that we eat today, the way we view food today. Do you know? It was a full sensory experience, but it was pleasure. It was total pleasure.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of my all-time favorite books because it does marry healthy eating, and she's actually very much about not overeating and abstaining, but quality replaces the quantity. So it's in between, the Michelle Bridges and, very, very healthy, but maybe not enough pleasure, I love Michelle Bridges, but I assume that, her diet would be a little bit more strict versus Nigella Lawson, who's butter, butter, and more butter. Yeah. The French way really merges, and it shows that we can have it all. We can have the restraint without denying ourselves. And European women, I don't think, have as many neuroses as the more Western women do.
I agree. I think whenever I go to Europe, I just love kind of indulging in a little bit of everything. I mean, it's pretty much how my diet is now. I mean, I eat healthy, but I'm certainly not scared of, chocolate or, I don't know, just, bread or whatever it is on occasions. Like, it's not part of my everyday diet. But when I go to Europe, and like when I go to Europe and I eat the food there, I have a different connection to the food there, which is really funny, and it must rub off from them. Like, I feel like, oh yeah, this bread's amazing and it's going to be so good in my body, Yeah. And so I create this positive kind of vibe or feeling with it.
And look, when you give yourself permission, I mean, looking at you as well, I was looking at you about 5 seconds ago, the body regulates. Like, if you just, the body will never betray you if you are in tune to it.
Yes.
And it's not scared of bread.
No, it's not scared of anything. That's, for me, like, if I see a lot of women who have been on constant diets, which is, lots of women, I always recommend that book, Why French Women Don't Get Fat, because just to reconnect to the pleasure in food and to be able to open up your diet, to have more food. You have a metabolism. You should be able to burn that food off, right? Yes. You can have a bit of whole cream or, bread or butter or whatever it is. Your metabolism will burn that off.
Yeah, as soon as the body kind of knows that, it's not going to starve, it's not going to die, like it's okay to burn it off. But yeah, we could talk about this topic for ages, but such a great reminder about that book. Thanks for that.
Yeah. So when we spoke on the phone, that's where I was going to. We talked about French women are just sexy, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've just got it. But what do you think makes the difference between, say, those European women and the Western woman?
I think they're incredibly defined in their authenticity. What we would consider a flaw, they celebrate. So unique hair, strong noses, all forms of lips, they work for it. So they're not striving for a uniform beauty that I think, reality TV and the media currently, America, Australia, etc., strives for. There's so many versions of beauty and ages, and they just define the woman. Yes, of course I have curves and I'm beautiful. Well, of course I'm stick thin and it's great. Yes, and they're not doing it for men, they're doing it for themselves. And that, je ne sais quoi, the not giving an F is also what makes them incredibly irresistible. They're not like people pleasing.
I love that.
They're very self-possessed.
Yeah, do you think that's a cultural thing?
Well, it must be, because we keep talking about the French women. The stereotype, the temperance of women across all cultures, but that, we're all one humanity, and it's, doesn't mean that we can't reference what we really enjoy from each other. Italian sensuality. There's so many. Australian free-spiritedness.
True.
We can all reference from each other. We're all one woman, one voice.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so to increase that kind of sensuality or that, sexual energy, spending time with things like you said, fabrics, and reading books and art and etc. like that. Any other ways to kind of start enhancing or creating a space for more of that energy to arise?
Start spending time around lots and lots of men and lots and lots of women, but authentically. I mean, spending time around lots of men really emanates your feminine energy. It'll also bring up a whole host of shit.
Yes.
But that's when to do the work. Being at home with your silk robes isn't going to take you far. But through men, you can get to recognize your own essence, and also through being around women, you really heal and amplify your feminine essence, if you like. So I think being around women is incredibly nurturing and magnifying of your power, and being around men can animate your sexuality and magnetism in a very different way, but we don't do enough of either in our societies. Men need to spend more time with men in very conscious ways, and women need to go do that with women, because those are memories of our very tribal origins, and I think our cellular memory still very much remembers that.
It's so interesting. To be honest, I mean, the answers that you're giving are just, they're so different to what I would have thought, enhancing your sensuality. I mean, I love the answers, right? They make sense. Do you know? Like,
what did you think? Maybe I am wrong. What did you think?
I don't know. You know what? Because I'm so used to hearing, like, step into your feminine power and, which is all great. Like, I love hearing that stuff, but this is just so different.
What does that mean? Well, step into your feminine power. Like,
I don't know. It feels like it's self-generated, to be honest.
It's self-generated, as the concepts are, but really, how do I know I'm in my feminine power?
Exactly.
When a man, say within the patriarchy, is acting out, and through me being a woman, I inspire him to be a better man, whether it's my husband, my father, or a boss. How do I know I'm in my feminine power? When I walk into a boardroom full of men, being the only women, and they stand tall and I command their respect, but I'm still very much a woman. I'm not being in a suit. That's when I'm in my feminine power. When I'm an incredible mother. So I think we as women have the ability to heal and to guide. That's when you're in your feminine power, when you're having a positive influence on the world around you. I mean, if we are calling ourselves feminists or goddesses or anything in between, and men are not listening and other women are being turned off, well, then I think we've got a way to go to being in our power. So that's why being around men, you really can see the impact you're having and go deeper within yourself and amend your vibration so that impact is positive and always respectful. And, if men want to be a better person around you, well, then I'd say you're well in the goddess space.
Yeah, well, okay. And what does, this is probably a question really just from me, and I don't know whether it would resonate with other women. What, because when I think of sexy, I don't think of myself as sexy. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think of myself as unsexy either. So I think I have a kind of visual that I think what sexy looks like, and I don't even know even if I can describe it. But what is sexy? Like, is it a woman in her power? Is it a woman that can have a positive change to people in her life and men that are around her?
I mean, I would say, this is just my opinion, we all know when someone is sexy. And I'm sure when you're in the right space and around the right person, your sexuality and sensuality is absolutely animated. It might not be on a Skype call, but if you're around a man who you're attracted to and a song that you love comes on and you're dancing, I would bet my house that you are very sexy. So, but those people that are just constantly sexy, I mean, the Johnny Depps or Angelina Jolies of the world, I believe that they think about sex and their sexuality a lot, and it's almost like it's woven in, it's embodied, like they're connected to their base, so that